Well, good morning, my Cheeser King family. How is everybody today? I'm doing well. I just had an interview for a job, good pay, 2 days of work a week at home, 3 days in the office, senior financial analyst, and pays great. And so I interviewed with the HR person, and she'll probably have the finance director call me back like later, like Friday or so. And I never heard of the company, but they do. I thought it was a very interesting company. Um, they do housing for seniors. Not necessarily a retirement home, but they own like 150 senior living places. But you can, like, I could go live there without no assistance because I don't need assistance. Hence why I eat so well and fast so well. But then they have assisted living, and then they have physical therapists come in and they do all these services. They got 160 unit or villages, and they're going to 200 villages. So I said, that's a great idea because people are getting old. Now, even with the inflation, people need a place to live. And so therefore the demand should be strong. And with the baby boomers, there's more seniors. So the demand's there. You need more supply. Obviously, they're full or filling up, and they're in like 10 states. So I thought it was a very good idea as far as from an economic standpoint. Let's check out our gold and silver. Anyway, just a second. All right. We're having a good day so far. Let's see. Oh, we survived the 10 o'clock. Notice the 10 o'clock today went up, which is unusual. 99 out of 100, it goes down. 45.73, and we're back at 73 and a quarter after 10 o'clock. So that's going to be a good day. We should get to 75, and we've gotten 45. Our next target is going to be 4,700. And I tell you, when I get gut feelings, what happens. So here it comes. Now we're going to watch Alligator McLeod talk to us about what happened, which is what we already know and what I've already explained. What I've already explained is it's all comex. Just a second. Let me write this in. Eric. Hey, Eric, how are you? Nice to see you again. Yes, we're starting football picks or basketball picks. We'll talk about the draft. Gold's coming back. And we'll look at basketball also. I went 1-1 yesterday on basketball. I'm learning. Right now I'm in the learning stage, but I'm able to start picking. I was even yesterday. I had the Knicks minus 8.5. They won by 4 over like crap team. And then Denver over 232 won. So those are my two picks. Anyway, so what's happening with gold and silver is the banks, of course, are failing again. The banks are all going out of business. They're not getting, people are defaulting on their mortgages, on their cars. The commercial real estate, strip malls, the big office buildings are collapsing because everybody's working from home. There's no value having a big office and having everybody there. So you have all that going on. So to get out of their options, again, they have to lower the gold price so they can get out and lower the silver. And it went all the way down to 61 silver. Now we're nice and back at 73, on our way back to 80 to 90 to 100. If we ever let the free market take over, the silver would be the 2000 by now, which is the frustrating part because we understand that and most people don't. The other thing is they want to buy it. They're short. They have people now. Morgan Stanley went 60, 20, 20 stocks, bonds, and gold, but they don't have any gold to back up people starting to do the 20% gold and silver. And they have to buy it. Well, if they're going to have to buy it, they want to buy it at a cheaper price. And since they can manipulate the market, they can buy it at this cheaper price. This is just a brief stop going up. So you can see it was 61, now it's 73. So you can see how silver recovered, and it's still not even close to being where it should be. And gold, you can see, it was all the way down to 4,100. Now it's back to 40, almost 4,600, on its way back to 5,000, which will be soon. Friday, we'll have to see. It's a triple witching day where they have to settle up on all their options. It's already been crushed, so hopefully we won't get too much bother on Friday, but it could go down because of that. And then I would expect the next week to start moving up. It's the third Friday of the month, or the fourth Friday of the month, but it's a quarter. And because it's a quarter close, they're going to want a lower gold price and lower silver price. However, as it's been crushed, does that happen? It had nothing to do with oil going up or the dollar going down. That's just bullshit, fantasy shit. Because all the banks, again, they manipulate it. They price fix it by selling options. That's the only way gold and silver go down. The demand is huge. The supply is very small. There's no reason that gold and silver should ever go down because as we talk about the dollar, why does it go down? Well, the big point is it goes down because they print the money, right? And they're going to be printing a lot. The dollar is going to go out very soon because they're printing to save. They're going to save the economy over saving the dollar. That's their choice. So they either raise interest rates and I don't even know how that will save the dollar, but they'll have to print less, or they lower interest rates, which kills the dollar and saves the economy because people have loans. So if they raise interest rates, it's more expensive for businesses and they will fail. And so therefore they won't raise interest rates because it'll hurt the economy, but it'll kill the dollar. The dollar's already dead, so I don't know what the point is. So we will see. And that's really the key to it. Of what will happen. So we're the only out you have, the only lifeboat's gold and silver. So we're way ahead of the game, 5-6 steps ahead of the game. Again, if we were in Nazi Germany in 1923, when the dollar collapsed there, the Reichsmark, it was only for the Reichsmark did you have money in the wheelbarrow, not if you had US dollars or British pounds or gold. You didn't need. The wheelbarrow was only for Reichsmarks. The grocery store was Reichsmarks, 10 million for bread. Oh, $1.50 for $1. Or for gold, who knows what it was. It was $20 an ounce for gold. So gold and silver would have saved your life in Germany in 1923, and the US dollar or British pound would have saved your life. The only way you lost is if you were in Reichsmarks because you trusted the government, and we don't make that mistake. We do not trust them. So what you have here is the dollar collapsing. We're in gold and silver. We're fine. We don't need wheelbarrows. Most of the people will need wheelbarrows because their dollar is going to get fucked. And the question is what will they replace it with? As the government, they need to make money. They have to have money available. The banks aren't going to just go out of business, right? So the banks aren't going to, JP Morgan isn't just going to go out, but he'll need new money to prevent this. Hopefully we kill the central bank because that's nothing but terrible. So it'll be what's the new money, and that's what we'll buy groceries with and pay bills with. So all that's happening is this goes to zero and this goes to zero. These are gone, and then you replace them with new. And if they're not backed by gold, there's no, you might as well have kept these out. So what'll happen is the dollar goes away when there's no interest or demand for it, which we're getting. Nobody wants it. Nobody wants our treasuries. Everybody's dumping the treasuries for gold. The China, Japan will take our US dollars and go to the store and buy gold. And if Pat's out there, he big lines at the gold stores where you buy it. Big lines. They're having trouble getting new gold and silver. It's gone. It's very limited. It's only 200,000 tons of gold. China's got 80,000 tons of it. So that's 80,000 off the table. So there's really only 120. Oh, wait, but Russia and India and Dubai and Saudi Arabia and South Africa probably have another 100,000 between them. So that leaves you 180. That leaves you 20,000 tons left. And we know Hungary and Romania and Czech Republic and Poland and their central banks are buying it. So let's say they have another 5,000 each. So that's another 20,000. And oh shit, that's it. There is no more gold out there. Now it's there, but it's going to sell for a higher price. Like me, why would I sell it at 4,500? Maybe when it hits 10 grand, I might sell a few ounces to go on a vacation, but this isn't bought to sell. This isn't a stock where it's an investment we make profit on. So that's really what's happening here. So keep in mind, the dollar will go out. These wars are not helping, and George Soros is pulling the trigger because he's already shorted the dollar, like he shorted the British pound. So he wants the dollar to collapse. Trump doesn't know what the hell. He doesn't even know what a dollar is. He's an idiot. So with Trump not knowing, and the Soros guy is the Treasury guy, Bart Simpson, you have nothing. You have no clue what you're doing. These are the same idiots running this war. Hey, let's go to war with Iran. We'll shoot this guy and they'll fold. Yeah, it hasn't worked that way, has it? We're going to lose that war, and that's very expensive. I heard we're selling like $1 to $2 billion a day. Well, where are we getting that money from? We don't have it. Oh, we're printing it. Oh, well, that makes the dollar even worth less. I advise you to go to the grocery store and stock up on probably, I guess, cereal and I don't know, maybe cans of tuna, but I'm really leery with canned goods. The problem is you can't really you can buy steak and chicken and put it in the freezer. And I bought a bunch of frozen vegetables. But my problem is it's all fresh veggies and fresh fruit and veggies is what I buy. Cauliflower, broccoli, it's hard to really, I can't put it in the freezer, but I can't buy 20 heads of broccoli and cauliflower. They won't last, they'll go bad. Avocado, it's got to be fresh. So that stuff probably will be okay. So we will see. But if you're going to buy a house, please wait. They're going to crash because there won't be buyers. Put it this way. We understand Austrian economics. You need a buyer. You're selling, this only has a value and I can only sell it if somebody will buy it. Right? Well, it's the same thing with the house. My house. So now it's worth 500. I bought it for 150. It's worth 500,000 now. No, it isn't. Can you sell it for 500? No, nobody's going to buy it for 500. Nobody has the money. they're getting laid off. The money is worth less. They have the money in the stock market because it's a blind spot because people think if the stock market's good, the economy is good. So the U.S. is also pumping money into the stock market, and the real value is not there. So what you have is a house that is 500,000 that nobody's going to be able to buy. So therefore, you'll buy it. It's the reverse of gold, right? So people will buy the house, but for 300,000. So it's really not worth five. You can't get five for it. It's not worth it. So maybe it goes down to 2 or 300,000, and then somebody will buy it. So why buy it at 5 and watch it drop to 2? So I wouldn't be buying a house now. I want to buy the house at 2. And I'm not sure I even want to buy it at 2. I want to buy it with gold, I believe. Now, the same thing with gold. I have gold, but it's too cheap. I don't want to sell it at 4,500. When it hits 10 grand, okay, I'll sell an ounce or two, but that's not it. The bulk of mine, I'm not selling at all because it's going to keep going up and up and up in value because as there's no dollars, the only money left is gold and silver. Hence why we're in it. Don't think for a minute crypto or Bitcoin is real money. It isn't. Real money definition is it's the most sought after thing. So that's how we came up with tulips, and then we came up with the actual paper dollars. This is what everybody agreed on and everybody wanted. Oh, it's easy. It's $1. I can buy a wallet, put it in my wallet, and walk around with that. Then it became credit cards and debit cards, so it's even easier. I don't actually have to carry the money around. I can carry this piece of plastic, which is what's happening. So with that said, what you have is the gold and silver will be the go-to currency. That's the lifeboat. Crypto won't be because it's not the most desired. It won't. You can't use it. Silver, like I said, I can go to the barbecue place. He'll take silver. He'd take gold too, I'm sure, but he wouldn't take crypto. You have to have an account. You have to remember some passwords or you're fucked. You have to then, how do I get the money? Right? He's running a business. So he needs to order more ribs and chicken. Well, he can't do it with crypto. The vendor's not going to take it. With gold and silver, he can at least have it and either offer it or go to the bank and cash it for dollars. But he wants the easiest thing to get to dollars. So he would take silver. And then I know one guy has a parts store. My Toyota guy told me, and his friend, and he every Friday he goes and has all his money and he buys gold and silver with it on Fridays. So he's getting out of the dollar and buying the gold and silver. It's funny. I tell him he doesn't listen to me, but when his buddy who owns the parts store does it, then he goes, "Oh, I better buy gold and silver because that's what he does." Even though I told him that, right? It's funny how people don't believe me, but then at the end of the day, they go, "Yeah, I guess he was right, wasn't he?" But I don't see crypto. People don't want it. You're not going to be able to go to the grocery store with it, or buy a car, or buy clothes. Go to Macy's, and you're gonna buy shirts. They'll be more apt to take physical gold and silver because I can go to somebody. What's it at? 73 now. I can go to somebody and give them this, and they'll see $73, and that's it. But they'll have the silver. It's a much more comfortable feel to actually have it than have a crypto. It's like, A, I need a wallet. B, how do I get the money? Here, I've got it. Okay, I've got the silver, but I don't see that I have the crypto. So there's some major problems with crypto. Don't buy that it's real. Don't buy. You don't even know what it looks like. So I would just stay away. It's a Ponzi scheme, and I don't see how it ever won't be a Ponzi scheme because you're selling air. All right. So let's look at the hoops. So I've been dabbling, watching it for the last 2 weeks. For me, that's about all I need. And let's look at it. Yesterday, Charlotte over 230. They win 134-90. I thought I won, but then I realized they only scored 224. So over 230 is a loser, but I didn't have any units on it. The Knicks 121-116 is a loser. I was laying 8.5. Kind of surprising. The Knicks scored 121. New Orleans scored 116. So kind of surprising there. It did go over. So maybe the Knicks are an over team. Cleveland, I'm laying 10.5, and they lose. They win 136-131. They look like an over team, but no units were on that one. And then my last one, I had 2 units on. Denver over 232, and Denver wins 248. They win 125-123. They seem to be an over team. So in my bets, the 2-unit Denver over wins, the 2-unit the Knicks minus 8.5 loses. It's a break-even day. I don't get into I know there's juice. That's not the point of this. Some guy was questioning me on my juice on my site, and I go, this is about units. If I either win 5 units or I lose 5 units. I mean, so that's what we're looking at. He's all worried about Joe. I go, this is just a way to track it, is how many units did I win? Jesus Christ. Okay, so that was yesterday. Today, let's go through the mess. 325. So yesterday it was only 4 games. Today's a pretty big schedule. Today is Wednesday, so I don't know why Wednesday is a more popular day. Sunday there wasn't a lot of games either. All right, we start with Atlanta, Detroit. Detroit 2.5, 228. Richie Cunningham is still out for Detroit. Some other guy named Jenkins scored a lot of points the other day. It's a matchup issue. Atlanta scores a lot. So we're going to go over Atlanta over 228. I'm going to go 2 units on this game. I like Atlanta over. Detroit should have it. Without Richie Cunningham, I don't know who these other players are. I don't even know who Richie Cunningham. What college did he play for? Kansas, Kentucky? I don't know. Never heard of him. Since I don't watch college, very, very rarely, I don't know who this guy is. But he's injured again. So we go Atlanta over. They should score a lot. Neither team played yesterday. The Lakers play Indy. Lakers laying 10.5 at Indy. Over 237. Lakers seem to score. They lost to the Pistons. Look for them to play big. But I don't like laying 10.5 on the road. I like the Lakers over 237. I think they'll score a lot, but they probably don't have a good defense. The Bulls and the Sixers. We got the Sixers 39, the Bulls 29 wins. Philly at home laying 6.5, 240.5. The Bulls seem to have no defense. 240. Yeah, I'm going to go over on this game too. But I'm not going to bet it. The number is a little too high to bet. Here's a good game, Oklahoma and Boston. The wishbone against Larry Bird. Oklahoma 2.5, 217. If Larry Bird was on the team, this would be a lock. Boston. Home dog with Larry Bird. That under seems very low. I'm going to go over this game. Okay, over to, and I'll make this for two units. Too good of a team here. 217 is very low. Boston, if you look at their total, they look like a good defensive team, but they're not. They don't show me all that, even with Jack Tatum back. Miami and Cleveland. Interesting game. Wow, Cleveland 2.5, 243. It's a big total number. Let's go with Cleveland here. I don't want to mess with 243 total. San Antonio, Memphis, Jay Morant, whoever that guy is out for Memphis. San Antonio 16.5, 232. So what do you do with this moron who's out? Is he a scorer? Never heard of him. That's the sad part. I can name you every college in football, right? This guy went to this college. I can't name you. I don't know who this moron is on Memphis. I don't know if he's a scorer or the center or who he is. Again, 16.5, I can't lay over. Yeah, I'm going to have to stay away from this. I just don't know. Washington goes to Utah, battle of the Z teams. Utah 4.5, 238. Let's go Utah and minus 4.5. And I'll go 2 units on it. It's funny. I win every game except for I'll go 2 units on them. And then they lose and you win every other game. Full schedule today. Houston and Minnesota. Pretty much even teams. Houston's minus 1.5, 220. I'm going to take Minnesota as the home dog. Plus 1.5, 2 units. Dallas and Denver. Dallas, I don't know. They're 23 wins. Denver, pretty good team. Played last night. They're laying 12.5, 244. This is an over game. Denver over 244. Brooklyn at Golden State. Steph Curry, I think, is still out, but he might be back this weekend. 34-38. Brooklyn 17 wins. So they're starting a West Coast. Golden State 11.5, 216. Let's go Golden State and lay the 11.5, but I'm not going to bet it. Milwaukee goes to Portland. Portland 12.5, 226. I like Portland here. Lay the 12.5. 226. And Milwaukee, without Archipelago playing, it makes it difficult. They don't have much. So let's go Portland, but I won't bet it. And then Toronto goes to San Diego. Which team will Kawhi Leonard play for? Toronto, good team, 40 wins. San Diego, 36. San Diego, 4.5, 227. This is a West Coast trip for Toronto. Let's go over here. Toronto over 227. But I'm not going to bet it. I don't know. I'm not comfortable yet on betting it. So let's go through today. Atlanta over 228. That's 2 units. The Lakers over 237, no bet. Chicago over 240, no bet. Oklahoma over 217, 2 units. Cleveland minus 2.5. Utah minus 4.5, 2 units. Minnesota plus 1.5, 2 units. Denver over 244. Golden State minus 11.5. Portland minus 12.5, and Toronto over 227. None of the last ones are bets. So the bets, 4 bets: Atlanta over 228, Oklahoma over 217, Utah minus 4.5, and Minnesota plus 1.5 as a home dog. Those are the 4 2-unit bets. Keep them small. So far, yesterday I was 1-1. The day before I was 3-2. We're just going to get our feet wet. As far as player props, I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole, especially in basketball. Too much fixing going on. Kawhi Leonard should be minus, is he going to score 20 points? He'll bet the under. He'll put up 19. Nope, I can't score anymore. I sprained my ankle. You should have to play the full game for the player prop. None of this ball. He gets injured in the first quarter. It's not. You can't count it. But to allow the player to bet on himself, you've got to be kidding. And I know why they do player props, because they want to get more bets. That's why they have Thursday night football and Monday night football and Sunday night football. Thursday night football, I'm going to get bets on a game that I probably wouldn't have got on Sunday. Right, Sunday comes, everybody bets Mahomes, Joe Burrow. You're betting the Rams. You're betting the Giants, the Jets. But, Miami plays Pittsburgh. Probably not going to bet that game. However, if we put it on Thursday night, I'll get betting on it. And again, these are businesses. And the only way they make money is to get more bets and more losers. So they want you to lose and they want you to bet. And these player props are another option of betting. It's just bullshit. And people fall for it because people are broke because they got their money in the stock market or in the banks, and they want to make money because we don't want to be slaves having to work our whole life. We want free time. And so therefore, that's what they want to do. So how do I make money? Well, I'll bet. And there's no tax if I bet basketball or football. And that's the beauty of going to Vegas or just going to the casino and playing poker. There's no tax on it. I can make $500. I don't have to pay tax. Winning the 500 is tricky. Hold'em is the worst poker game I've ever seen. 5 community cards? Are you kidding me? Holy shit. That's just all blind luck. So keep that in mind. So that is the NBA. Try to come up and problem solve yourself and then see if we agree. My method is just looking at the team and problem solving the team. I bet Atlanta Pistons over because Atlanta seems to score a lot of points. I kind of watch their games and they score a lot. Detroit scores a lot. They don't have much defense, especially without Richie Cunningham, but they still have some other players. So then I look at the line. 228 doesn't seem too bad. 240, I would never play over. It's like football, college football. If you see the over in the low 60s and it's a normal offensive team like a Texas Christian and they're playing, they're playing Boise, yeah, that'll probably be up, but I won't. Once it hits like 65, that's the limit. I won't, and then you start seeing these 70-point totals and no, they're not going to, it's not going to get that high. It's a little too high. That's a lot of points to score. Even though the teams have good offenses, one of them gets chewed and starts running the ball and running the clock. And then you don't get over. But at low 60s, then I can go 54, 55, 56. Yeah. Then it's the 33, 30 gets me there, and that's doable. Excuse me. So that's the premise. So the line tends to make if it's a bet or not. And if it's too high, you go under. Like the Lakers Pacers, it's 10.5. That's a bit much. The Lakers played yesterday, I think. No, they played 2 days ago at Detroit. Now they're playing Indy, but 10.5, the home team should play better. And that leaves you the 237. So you play the game over or under. So you play it over. Anyway, that's what you have. That's how you problem solve it. The team. I'm very happy Chuckleheads are moving out probably next week. So I'll get peace and quiet. Alyssa, I don't know what's going on with her. She was supposed to come over Saturday to celebrate my birthday, which was March 7th. And I tried calling her, and the phone says it's restricted, and I can't text her. So I had my friend call her to see if I was blocked or does she not pay her bill? And he got the same restricted message. So they're not blocking him. They don't even know who he is. So she has a phone problem, which is really strange. Daria, on the other hand, couldn't use Telegram because she needed a new VPN, which she got, but now I'm not sure because she texted me six in the morning my time, which is like 1 o'clock her time from Russia. Good morning, how are you? Da 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 da. But then she hasn't been on since then, so I don't know if the VPN got canceled or what's going on. So I'm getting all sorts of communication issues with the girls. Jenna's fine. We're still waiting to hear about the son. The Gestapo grabbed him, and no news yet. And in this case, no news is bad news because they got to spring him. So she's all nervous about that. All right. NCAA basketball. Let's see if we got any changes. This starts tomorrow. North Carolina fired Hubert Davis. Who cares? All right, we got 4 games tomorrow, 4 games Friday. Texas, Purdue. We got Purdue 7.5, 148. I like Purdue under 148.5, but I haven't played it. I played 4 games this weekend. Iowa, Nebraska, 1.5, 132. I have gone under in this game because it's Iowa and Nebraska. There'd be an under in football. Arizona, 7.5, 166. I'm under 168. I just think it's a big number. And then Illinois, Houston. We love Houston. Great defense. 2.5, 139.5. I'm under 140. And that looks like it's a 3-unit play. So that's my big play. Houston with the great defense. Illinois probably with the good defense too, I would imagine. And now you start looking at your defensive teams and going under in these. Houston, I thought, was a nice number. If it was 120, I don't know. But for 140, that's a big number for Houston. St. John's and Duke. Duke 6.5, 142.5. I like St. John's and the 6.5. I also like the under. The bet is take the 6.5 for 2 units. But the under, I think, is also a good play. St. John's plays that killer defense. But I think St. John's wins the game. Alabama and Michigan. Michigan 10.5, 174. I can't play an over of 174 in a tournament game. There's too much choking going on. I do think Michigan wins laying the 10.5 because Alabama, they put up a lot of threes. If they're hot, they're going to cover and they might win. If they're cold, Michigan will win by 30. So I don't know what to do. I didn't bet it. I do like Michigan minus 10.5. Michigan State, Connecticut 1.5, 135.5. I do like Michigan State. I have it plus 2.5. Total 136. So I've played Michigan State as the dog for 2 units, figuring that Connecticut's not that good. Michigan State's playing well. And we like Judd Heathcote as the coach. I think Magic's going to play too. And our last game is Iowa State 4.5, 138.5. I like the under because it's Iowa State 4.5, 138. So under 138. Is their star playing? If he does, he's going to be injured. So how good is he going to play? That's college basketball for the weekend. So we got Houston under 140. St. John's gets 6.5. Michigan State getting 2.5. And Iowa State under 139 are your 4 plays. The other 4 are go under in the Iowa game, under in Arizona, under Purdue, and Michigan lay the 10.5. That is your basketball update. Let's go to the NIFL NFL. Is there any things? It's pretty much done. League personnel being able to weigh in on-field calls about NFL. This is terrible. Why do you have refs then? If you're going to have refs, let the ref call the game, and you can't micromanage him. And if he blows a call, well, I'm sure he's going to blow a lot. And you try to make everything perfect, but you ruin the game. I was watching the Baltimore Open game, and whatever happened, happened. If Dave Casper caught the touchdown, he caught the touchdown. You didn't have 15 minutes of replays. Did Dave Casper catch it? He caught it. There was a baseball one I was watching, the World Series, and it was Baltimore Cincinnati 1970. And in there's a play at the plate where a guy hits the ball and it goes 2 feet and it bounces high. And Elrod Hendricks, the Baltimore catcher, catches it, and the guy, Bernie Carbo's coming, and they're trying to tag him. The refs and the umps in the middle to see if it's a fair foul ball. So he's looking there. So he's blocking the plate from the runner, and then the catcher can't tag him because the umpire's there, and it ends up being a mess. And the ump can't see the play, calls him out. But that's what he called, and that was it. There was no, well, let's do a replay. And in slow motion, Bernie Carbo never touches home plate, and Elrod Hendricks never touches Bernie Carbo. He reached with his mitt, but the ball was in his hand. So he's reaching for him over here, the ball over here. But Carbo, with the ump in the way, couldn't touch the plate. So he never touches the plate. He never gets tagged. But because the ump called him out, play was over. So even though Elrod Hendricks never touched him, he called him out, and that's it. So we just assumed he had the ball in the mitt, I guess. But the ump, and Sparky Anderson's like, how the hell you couldn't see? They were on top of you. You couldn't see the plate. It didn't matter. That's how the game should be. Let the ump call it, right or wrong. Okay, it was wrong, but let the ump call it. Baltimore was in a lot of World Series when they made that Frank Robinson trade. They won 66. They beat the Dodgers. And then 69, they lost to the Mets. 70, they beat Cincinnati. 71, they lost to the Pirates. So they went 2-2 in like 5 years, right? 66, 69, 70, 71. So from 66 to 71. So in 5 years, they went to the World Series. Well, I guess it was 6 years. They went to the World Series 4 times. Boston and St. Louis, 67, Detroit, St. Louis, 68, and then back to Baltimore, 69, 70, 71, 72, or 69, 70, and 71. Baltimore in 1971, when they played the Pirates, you had Roberto Clemente and Stargell and Al Oliver and Manny Sanguian. And Baltimore had 4 20-game winners. And none of the pitchers, they couldn't hit, though. They had Palmer, Cuellar, McNally, and Pat Dobson. And Pittsburgh just crushed them with nobody, with no pitcher. Doc Ellis, who threw his arm out, he said in the San Francisco series. That must have been a good San Francisco series. You had Clemente against Willie Mays. Holy Christ. And 73, the Mets came back and they played Oakland. They had Reggie against Willie Mays, but it was like Willie Mays was all done. That was it. My chat's disconnected. I've never seen so many problems with YouTube. Either my thing gets killed or my chat. Oh, it's connected. Okay. It's back. Go on chat. So But this is how it should be. The umps made the call, or in football, I'm watching the 77 goes to the post, Oakland, Baltimore, the whole game in like an hour. Like they just show you the play, move on. And if the refs fucked up, they fucked up, and they just kept going. And that's what you should do. Just play. See, you're missing the flow of the game with all these stoppages. Oh, let's do an instant replay. You don't need an instant replay. That's why you have the ref. Let the ref call the game. You can't, well, you got to get it perfect. No, you don't have to get it. And even when you do the instant replay, it's not, you still fuck up the calls. So it's not like the instant replay makes the call. Oh, now it's fair. Now it's true. You'll still have them screw up. What are you doing? I mean, it's just ridiculous. So anyway, nothing really new in football. This whole power ranking shit. AI. Do you really want to listen to AI? Joe Flacco reportedly agrees to return to the Bengals. Well, you got Joe Burrow there. Ravens were reportedly concerned about Max Crosby's degenerative disc, I guess. Degenerative knee issue beyond 20. So Max Crosby's injured. He's bitching that Oakland sat him out 2 games, 2 meaningless games, and yet he's injured. Doug Tagliabue gets a second chance in Atlanta, got to play better. He's got to play better. You suck, Tagliabue. What do you mean you get the second chance? You got to play better. You're not going to play better on Atlanta. You had Tyreek Hill. If you can't play with Tyreek Hill, you're not going to do much on Atlanta. And you're not even going to play because Penix will take it. All right. So that's football. The draft's coming up, probably mid-April. It's a good draft for defense. I'm not sure about offensive linemen. There's 2 or 3 quarterbacks. You got Aguilar from Tennessee. Devin Dampier, I believe, staying in Utah. So you've got the guy on Indiana who's really not that good, Mendoza. And the best one would be my guy, Dario Pava. He's the best quarterback in the draft by far. Mendoza is nothing. If he was at Indiana instead of Mendoza, Indiana would have won every game by 30 points. They wouldn't have fucked up against Penn State. See, Mendoza fucked up against Penn State. He fucked up against Ohio State. And then he had a decent game against Miami. Maybe. I got to watch that film to see if it was him or the defense or the running back. How did they score their points? It's like Philadelphia winning the Super Bowl. It had nothing to do with Jalen Hurts. It was their defense. And just like Seattle, it had nothing to do with Darnold. It was Kenneth Walker and their defense that won the Super Bowl. That's what I'm saying. So football, we got coming up. Baseball starts probably this weekend, the end of March. So we'll start analyzing that. And basketball, we're going to keep going with it. Again, you've got the back-to-back days. And, now teams should be trying to make the playoffs. So you start getting into the must-wins. That's important. I don't think anybody's tanking. I just think there's a big talent distribution on teams like Washington and Utah versus teams like Boston and Oklahoma and San Antonio. I think that's all it is. There's only a few good players in the league, 4 or 5 maybe. And I'm not sure how good they are. It's just the league's so watered down that they're good. It's like the dollar strengthening against the euro. Well, the euro is no great shapes either that it's strengthening. So that's just bullshit. The gold simply went down because they shorted it because the bankers wanted a lower price and to get out of their options, which they're pretty much out of. So now it's just the lowering price so they can buy it. because they realize they have to buy it to pay off the options. Because as they buy it, people are taking delivery. So when it goes up to back to 4,600, well, it's down to 4,200. So all that buying, they want delivery, and where are they going to get it? They can't. So the banks need the lower price to buy physical to get it, but they can't find it. So the banks are fucked. They're basically going to go out, most of them. Just be careful. The stock market is totally fixed. It's kept up by the government printing money. And the war, they're printing money. So there's a lot of money printing. And again, the money is not worth. Nobody will want the US dollar. We don't want it, right? What do we get? You get a paycheck. What do? You run and buy gold and silver. You don't want the money. I don't want to have 100 grand in the bank. I want the money out of the bank and 100 grand in gold. That's what I want, because it's going to turn to 200 grand, and the money in the bank is going to go from 100 grand to zero. So why would I want to be on the losing side? Why do I want to watch the value of my dollar drop when I could change it for gold and watch the value of the gold go up? Rumpelstiltskin. All right. What else? Poker. Again, watching. Again, the art of the bluff is just to scare you into making a call. I got a pair of sevens. You bet, let's say we're at my game. You bet $100. There's a king and a queen out there. I can't possibly see it with sevens. I was with my friend, and we went down to MGM one night, and I was down there, and he happened to be down there. So he's got pocket jacks pre-flop. And so he makes his bet, and then the flop comes ace, king, 9 or whatever. And the ace bets. The first guy bets. The second guy calls, and he's got his jacks. I says, fold. I got jacks. One of them, if not both, have the ace. That's why they're betting it. So you got to realize the bet. They're not bluffing in that situation. You don't bluff when an ace comes up if there's 3 or 4 people in the pot. So call, and I told him fold, and he folded. And then at the end, they both had aces, and I said, that's how you play the game. You've got to watch the community cards if it's going to help them, and that's really the key. So that's really what you're looking at with that is the key to it is what's out there, and assume people have it. So I'm betting a lot if I have a hand to get you off your hand so you don't catch the straight or flush on me. And I'm going to bluff when I miss my cards at the end because it's the only way I can win. Then I'm going to make a big bet. So the big bet on the river is mostly a bluff. Now I was watching a hand this morning, and just to see Phil Hellmuth blow up, and he hits 2 pair on the turn. So he makes a big bet, and the guy calls, but it wasn't big enough, and the guy calls. See, Phil should have went all in to protect his hand. So let's break this hand down. He's got ace 5. The other guy's got king, queen of clubs. And the flop comes 2 clubs and an ace. So Phil's got aces. The other guy's got ace, king, queen, jack, and 3 clubs, I believe. Phil bets, the guy calls because he's on the draw, and Phil's not asking, what are you calling with? Then the 5 hits, so now Phil's got aces and 5s. He's got 2 pair on the turn. The other guy, king, queen, so he's got ace, king, queen, jack, and 4 clubs on the turn. Phil needs to go all in to get the guy off the hand. Then you do it because you're protecting your hand. He didn't protect his hand. He bet like 15,000. So the guy calls. 10 of hearts hits on the river. Phil's got his 2 pair, can't get away. The other guy pulls the 10, gives him a straight, but not a flush. So it's with the king, queen, it's ace, jack, 10 on the board. So it's really hidden. It's not like ace, king, queen, jack, or king, queen, jack, 10 on board. Then you would assume a straight. But ace, jack, 10, you can't assume the straight. And especially it was the 10 of hearts. So there's still 4 clubs out there. So Phil makes the small I think Phil goes all in or makes a small bet, and the other guy goes all in. And he does a little acting. Well, Phil, you're not going to get me this time. And, if ever you're at a table and somebody just gives a speech and oh my God, and goes all in, fold. That is the surest tell I can give you is when they sit there and they dick around and, oh my God, and I don't know what to do. I'll go all in. Yeah, they've got the hand 100% of the time. Like if they're watching the TV, they've got the hand. If they're taking a drink, they've got the hand. They're relaxed. So for anybody that, I don't know what to do, and then all in, just fold. I don't care what you got. You can have a set of nines, fold. You're beat. And so Phil calls with his ace and fives, and the guy turns over the straight. And Phil cries and bitches and moans and says, if it was a club, I could have gotten away from the hand, but not the 10 of hearts. Why not? Why did you think he called your two pair on the turn with? You didn't bet enough on the turn. That's the hand. That's the street you get the guy out with. That's where you make the big bet, and it's not a bluff, right? Now, there was no bluffing involved in that hand, but the guy did bluff Phil Locke, who looked like he had like the Statue of Liberty hairdo. Really bizarre. And so he sounds like a motorcycle up there. So the guy bluffed him on the river. He made a big bet, and Phil Locke folded. Again, during the hand, he was pretty calm. Here's the big bet on the river. It's a bluff. Phil Locke folded a pair of nines or whatever, and the guy won. But there you go. The betting has purpose. So when Phil Hellmuth had aces and fives, he needed to make a big bet to protect his hand to get the guy out. If you bet 100 grand, I would have thought the guy would have went out for 15 grand. He saw it, and then he got the right card. So that's the problem with Phil Hellmuth in a cash game. He's too stupid to play cash games. He's good in tournaments, but not in cash games. So he needed to. This was a cash game. He needed to protect his hand, not let you draw to the straight or flush, or thinking. And the guy was on a flush draw, right? More than the straight draw, but it happened to come. And so you make the big $100,000 bet on the turn. You don't wait for the 10 of hearts to come up, because if you make the bet, he's going to fold on you. You're not going to win a penny if it comes up the 6 of clubs or 6 of hearts. No flush, no straight. You're going to make a bet, he's going to fold. So there's no point in making the bet on the river. You're only getting called if he hit the straight or the flush, in this case, the straight. That's where you make the bet. The big bet always has to be on the turn when you have the hand. The big bet on the river is a bluff. The big bet on the flop or the turn is protection. I got aces. It came 2 clubs. I'm making a big bet to get you out, because you're not going to call it on the flop. There's still 2 cards to go, and I might get the flush, but the odds are I won't, and it's a lot of money to maybe get there, so I won't call. So it depends when the big bet is and what the big bet is. It's protection on the flop. It's protection on the turn. On the river, it's a bluff. Now, we ended up getting an all in. It was a bet all in. So obviously it was not, and it wasn't a bluff, but it was a big bet on the river, but he had the nuts. So you're going to get that once in a while, but generally that's what happens there. But again, the bluff is more to say you're not going to call. It's too big of a bet for you to call. It's not anything to really do with I'm bluffing or not. Even if you have a pair of eights, you're going to fold a big bet, because it's the pressure of, I can't really afford it, or I don't have a good enough hand to make the call. That's really what you're saying there. I don't have a good enough hand to make the call. So that's what happens. So that's kind of how you read the bluff versus the hand. But again, that's why you bet big for protection, You got aces, or here you had aces and fives with two clubs on the board. He's got to make a big bet on the turn to protect his hand and have the guy think twice or three times about calling. Geez, it's a lot of money. If I lose, I'm in trouble. So I'm going to fold because I really don't have anything just to draw. So the big bet will get him out. And Phil had aces and fives. So what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for, Phil? You're letting him catch up. You can't do that. You have to make a big bet. That's why he doesn't win. He doesn't win anything in cash games. He doesn't understand that. He's good in tournaments because he kind of slow plays and calls you with the full house, but he can't play aces and fives to protect his hand in cash games. He doesn't understand that. Good tournament player, terrible cash player. All right, so that's poker. Doyle Brunson, what he would do is he'd get aces, and here's the flop, and then he'd make a big bet to get you out. That's how he wins, right? That's all it is. He gets cards in that. So when I was playing and the guy kept straddling me, I was first to act, even though I was a small blind and should have been near the last to act. The big blind should have been last, but he took that position away from me, and I didn't like it. But I didn't get any cards to call him. I never got aces, kings, ace, king, a pair of nines. I never got anything to see the $5 bet because I had $1 in the pot. And I'm not going to just play games because if he has a hand, he's going to make it 20 on me. I don't want to see 20 with king five. I'm not going to see a $20 pot because I'm playing 1-3. I want to see flops. I'll beat you on the flop. You can't handle me on the flop, but on the pre-flop, then it's all luck. I don't play luck unless I have a good hand, but I never got a good hand in that. So that's how you play smart, is you don't play garbage hands. Because you can't take the bluff. If you play 5-8 off suit and some guy makes a big bet on you, you can't call him. Even if you hit the fives. So let's say a five hits and you got fives and it comes ace, king, five, and the guy makes a big bet. And now I've hit the fives. So what? I can't call. There's an ace and a king out there. I assume he's got aces or kings. Something hit. Probably the ace if he's making a big bet. So if he had kings, he'd be a little scared of the aces. So the betting is the key to poker. Watch what they bet. Watch when they bet it. If it's check, check, and then a big bet on the river, he's bluffing because he wants to get paid off. And that's just human nature. I want to make money on the pod. If I go all in, he's not going to call. So I want to make a bet where he'll call me. He's got a hand. The all-ins are usually bluffs, except for in that hand. Then it was strong hand against strong hand, and Phil bet his two pairs strong, and so the guy came over the top, knowing that he had the nuts. That was the only reason he did it. Phil couldn't fold the aces and fives, and again, Phil's mistake was you bet that on the turn. You make a big bet on the turn, not by the time the river comes, and now he's giving you a song and a dance, and he goes all in on you. You're fucked. So again, if they act and oh my God, what to do, and they wait and wait, okay, I'll go all in. Just fold. They've got the full house. Just trust me, that's a full house. I got the nuts. Anytime they're acting, and then do the all in. Otherwise, you just go all in, right? But if you're acting, then you definitely have the nuts. All right. So that's a little bit of poker. It's tough waiting for football to come back, right? All right, let's look at Alligator. All right, we've got Alligator McLeod. We've got Alligator McLeod. And so the synopsis here is the banks are in trouble and they need to lower the gold and silver price, and they need to buy gold and silver for the options they have out there already, because they got to pay it. And then this new 60 this new 60-20-20 that Morgan Stanley came out with. This is your portfolio now, 60-20-20. Well, if this is your portfolio, then if you buy the gold, we're saying we have the gold for you. So they think they own physical gold, which Morgan Stanley or Chase or whatever doesn't have. So they need to go buy it. So they want the price lower to buy. So when you see the price down, keep realistic in it. If the price of gold went down, it's because somebody wants to buy it. Again, this is the problem with the paper game. We know it's not going down because of lack of demand. We know the only reason COMEX drops it is to price control it. It's totally illegal, and they should all be in jail for doing it, yet they do it. And there's nothing we can do but understand the game going, I got physical. It's worth 10 times. This is where I come up with the 10 times more. Gold was 5,200, it's down to 40, it went down to 4,200. Now it's back to 4,600. What do we got? 4,573. So it's coming back up. It still should be in the 5,000s. So therefore, if I'm going to buy it at 4,573, I know it's worth 10,000, 15,000. Just what I said when it was 1,700 and I'm buying it. I go, it's a $5,000 an ounce. There it is. It is 5,000. Silver at 25. I knew it was at least 500. So that's why you just keep buying, because you know the real value doesn't do the drops, because the demand and the supply numbers mean for a higher price. So again, they're playing the games. This war costing $1 billion, $2 billion a day. These missiles are very expensive. You got the men, you got to feed the men, you got to clothe the men, you got to have doctors out there in case they get hit. I feel sorry for this. If they're putting soldiers there to fight, you got to be kidding. They're going to get killed. I mean, they have no chance. They don't even have a chance to get to the place. They'll bomb the boat before they even get there. So the soldiers will never get on the land to even fight. They'll be killed before then. They have all the Russian and Chinese radar and everything. They can see all the boats coming. They'll see the boat, they'll see the guys, and they'll blow up the boat. I mean, this is Iran you're dealing with. Why we're at war with them is no reason. The regime change was to steal the oil. Have a friendly guy in there so he would let us steal the oil, which is what we did in Venezuela, what we did with Gaddafi in Libya, what we did with Saddam Hussein was all the same. We wanted to steal the gold and oil. And that's it. Well, what Gaddafi was going to do was have gold-backed currency, which would have destroyed the dollar, because the dollar can't handle gold-backed currency because we're not backed by anything. We're fucking monopoly money. And therefore, they destroyed that to get rid of the gold, because they knew if Gaddafi did the gold-backed currency, the fuck. And that's kind of what they're trying to do with BRICS. They know BRICS is going to rule because they have the gold. They can't do anything with China. Russia, they tried with fighting the Ukraine, was really fighting Russia. They can't do anything. So they go after Iran, also a BRICS country. They went after Venezuela, a BRICS country. And, nothing happened there. So it's just crazy. But that's what you have. So let's watch a little of Alligator McCloud. So what he's saying is that's why it dropped, was for the banks getting out of trouble, or they had to buy gold, so they had to lower the price. That's the thesis here, but we'll just hear from him.
What it is I think the best way to explain it is that the paper market has now become completely divorced from the underlying price and value, if you like, of bullion. And since nobody is really in there challenging it, you can make what you like. You can call silver 120, 60, I don't know, anything you like. Because there's nobody in there actually saying, I've got to buy this. I mean, they've marked it down so cheap and all the rest of it. So that's the basic answer. I think there is another answer too, and that is that we're coming up to the first quarter, March 31st, and the bullion banks have a problem. I mean, so what this means is that the inflation rate, which nobody was really looking for, is going to be through the roof later on this year. Okay, what does that do to bond yields? Well, they could be through the roof as well. So that's what's going on. And I can just imagine that on Monday morning at 6 o'clock in the morning, they were shaking Trump awake saying, taco, for God's sake, taco. I think the answer is the latter. That's the mandate. That's his mandate. And, to hell with the inflationary consequences. In other words, you're going to find that the value of credit or the other side of credit, debt, is going to get wiped out. It either gets wiped out by businesses and banks going bust, or it gets wiped out by the currency in which you value this debt being depreciated right down to whatever is necessary. And that's going to be the choice. And I'm absolutely clear in my own mind, it is the political imperative which will win. And that is sacrifice the dollar. Don't sacrifice businesses.
Hey, Dalton.
Your house has more logins than people. Movie night, homework, gaming, video calls. With Easy Fiber,
Those are little clips. Now he'll get into the
Alistair
interview.
McLeod, good afternoon to you, my friend. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Andy.
It's really good to see you. It's been a little bit of a while. It's been a good 4 or 5 months since I last had you on, and it's an interesting time. The metal prices had, I want to say, both gold and silver have had the worst week in 40 years. Wanted to know your thoughts on that. Is this just really based on this just massive run-up that we had leading up to this, which was probably the best time in the history that I'm concerned? But yeah, talk to me about this correction here. Is this a pop, or what is this?
Well, it's something we've never really seen before. The amazing thing, Andy, is that the speculators are not in there. I mean, if you look at open interest on comex, in silver, we've been hitting over 20-year lows in open interest. Is that a contract full of speculators? No, it's not. Gold, similarly, with gold's open interest at around about 400,000 ounces, that again shows, a lack of speculative interest. I mean, there's lots and lots of talk about speculative interest and how, the retail industry sort of bought it and they're being shaken out and so on. Obviously, there's no pure argument in this, but the evidence from the Far East, which is really where the retail demand is that on this drop, the retail interest is being maintained. I mean, they're saying, whoopee, it's cheaper to buy gold. Go and buy some, or silver.
Wow.
What it is I think the best way to explain it is that the paper market has now become completely divorced from the underlying price and value, if you like, of bullion. And since nobody is really in there challenging it, you can make what you like. You can call silver 120, 60, I don't know, anything you like. Because there's nobody in there actually saying, I've got to buy this. I mean, they've marked it down so cheap and all the rest of it. So that's the basic answer. I think there is another answer too, and that is that we're coming up to the first quarter, March 31st, and the bullion banks have a problem. Just like you and I, and the viewers of this video, they can see that financial markets are getting more and more risky, and gold and silver less so. But they don't have any. And not only that, but if you think about the big banks in America, they've all been saying, for very good reason, we expect gold to go to $6,000, $6,500, whatever. You've even got, I think it was Morgan Stanley saying, it's no longer 60-40, it's 60-20-20.
Right.
But what people don't realize is that these banks in their managed accounts, and it's not unusual to see a major American bank managing $1 trillion of other people's money, they haven't got any gold in there at all, or none to speak of.
Mm-hmm.
They are embarrassed by this. They're short, and they can see that they themselves are going to have to buy this, but there's none around. So that means that the outlook is for a massive continuing squeeze, basically, as particularly the silver contract, the silver futures contract, becomes not good for purpose. I mean, do you really want to be market making in a silver contract when you can't get the underlying physical?
Can't get delivery, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, the problem first hit London. But you can see why it is that they basically want to bash it, because they want to shake out those few people, maybe even persuade a few hedge funds to go short, because, you can put forward an argument. You can say, we got inflation down the road, so we're not going to get a reduction in interest rates. Interest rates could well go up. Mm-hmm. That makes it more expensive to hold gold and silver, so they should go down. This is the Keynesian argument, in effect, the macroeconomic argument, which we had thrown at us for years and years and years, in complete defiance of actually what happens. So I think that's the basic answer. Now, how this shortage developed and why it is still with us, I mean, there's still backwardations in silver, despite the fact the price has fallen from a paper 120 down to a paper 60-odd, 61, what it is, 61, 62 yesterday. Mm-hmm. Oh, and incidentally, one thing that's interesting is on the sell-off yesterday, if you look at the volume figures on comex, they're through the roof. In other words, this is a classic technical bottom where, you get that sort of real, you got a mixture of people sort of throwing up in fear and buyers getting in there and buying, that is the classic sell-off climax. We've seen that in the technical sense. Now, given that what we're really talking about is trying to get prices down so that the options expire worthless, and there are quite a lot of options expiring worthless on this at a lower price, then you can see there's huge incentive for the market makers, the bullion bank traders, whatever, and try and suppress it. So that's all we're seeing, really. I mean, what a wonderful opportunity for stackers.
Right.
Okay, so just to cover a few points. So we talked about, was it Morgan Stanley had $1 trillion in assets of other people's money, and they are telling you to put some of it into gold, but they don't have any gold. Well, that's what BlackRock is, and these Apollo Capital and all these losers. They're basically, it's not like they have all the money. They are controlling. If you give them $1 million, they're controlling your $1 million. They don't have the $1 million. They're supposed to use the money to buy it, and they probably do a Madoff, and they probably just Ponzi scheme it. But that's what they're doing. It's exactly Madoff. Madoff didn't have $62 billion. He had other people's money. And then he stole part of it. And then the other, he paid Peter, and Paul gave him more money. And that's what BlackRock is. It's the exact same as Madoff. All these funds are Ponzi schemes. So you give them the money, they're managing your money for you. Why do I need them to manage my money? I'll just go buy physical gold and silver and manage my own fucking money. Because I'm going to be 1,000 times ahead. They're going to be broke when the dollar collapses. And what are you going to be in stocks and wait for the market to collapse? So when you hear BlackRock is so rich, they're not. They just are holding people's assets, and they're supposed to be investing them. And if we go down the Madoff path, we know that's bullshit. They're not. But that's why the stock market is high, is everybody works and gets a 401k, and they put it in the stock, and then that goes to BlackRock. So I work and 5%, and the company matches it, and it goes in, and it's the stupidest bullshit. Like, I haven't had a 401k at work in years. I just took the extra money and bought gold and silver with it. Right? I never took the money. I never invested it in a 401k. There's no point in it. It's not real. I know the stock market's a Ponzi scheme, so I stayed out of that and said, I'll do it myself. I do have the master's in finance and economics, so I don't need to. I'll handle it. Thank you very much. And I'm come out way ahead than having these guys. And then they charge you management fees, and God knows. So that's the first thing. The other thing is comex. This is about the end of comex. There's no point of having comex if they're just going to fuck around with the price, and it's not real. The price of silver at 72. It should be 120. Well, it's not a realistic price. And in the physical market, it's 120. It's probably 500. And they're dicking around at 61. Now, that's not a real price. Now it went back at 70. What do I got? 73 and a quarter. We'll check before class ends what it's at. Did we already get the Friday drop, the end of the month drop? Probably. We saw enough of the drop last week. But it is the triple witching Friday where the options end and other things end. I don't know all of it. I don't really care about that. I'm not in options, stocks, and all that. That's not the place to be. Gold and silver are the place to be. That's what we follow. It's like betting on Kansas City. It's not. We don't want to bet on Atlanta. We want to bet on Kansas City. But anyway, that's what he's talking about. So keep in mind, when they say BlackRock has all this money, it's not theirs. It's people that are investors. That's the money they have. So keep that in mind. All right. Back to Alligator.
Yeah, no, I thought about that, especially your last point. I thought they got to get it down just for all these options. I mean, this is triple witching Friday, correct? Or
Yeah.
Yeah. So they got to push it down. I can't tell you. I used to be a big futures trader and also had a hedge fund, and we'd see all the time in other instruments and other assets. And just, hey, they got to get this down or they got to get it up. Sometimes the reverse was true just because of where all the options were written. So I think that's part of it. We have an interesting. You brought up two other things too. You brought up the inflation rate, and you brought up interest rates. Let's work that out a little bit more. Now, there's a new dynamic with that. I laugh not because of I'm gleeful of the war and the quandary that we're in, but I laugh just because it's just another layer to this craziness that we're looking at. That's this inflationary problem. That's what oil brings. So we go to war 3 weeks ago, or 3.5, 4 weeks ago, and oil's at, I'm saying the quote in US dollars, but it's around $100 a barrel, or between 90 and let's say just over $100 a barrel. That's going to be a massive wave of inflation, and for all the reports that they want down, correct me if I'm wrong and talk to me about that.
Yeah.
You're wrong. It's not inflation. Price goes up because supply goes down. It's not inflation. I hate to break it to you. Inflation is money printing, period. So the fact that oil goes up is not inflation. See, these idiots think that anytime prices go up, it's inflation. Not if supply drops like oil or demand for gold goes up and the price goes up. Neither of those are inflation. Inflation is only money printing. You just wonder how these guys are in business. They don't know what they're doing.
By my analysis, commodity prices were very, very cheap in real terms. Now, by real terms, I mean measured in gold, because that is real money. The rest of it's fiat rubbish, okay? So when we price things in dollars, it's make pretend. But if you price it in gold, you'll see that most commodities or baskets of commodities are approximately 25% where they should be in terms of long-term value. Only 25%. So, if you and energy is about the same. I mean, oil is about the same. So, these commodities have become very, very underpriced. I would say because of the distortion of accounting in fiat currencies, and particularly dollars. That's really why it's gone adrift, if you like, from reality. So, if you looked at that the other way around, you could say that, well, in real terms, given that the purchasing power of gold is fairly level throughout, long periods of time, what you could say is that the value of these commodities should rise roughly 300% to get back to normal. And that doesn't assume any overshoot. Now, of course, we don't know that it'll get back to normal quite that way. But if you put on top of that a depreciating purchasing power for the currencies, then your base case has got to be at least 300% increase. And depending how you feel about the dollar, it could be significantly more. So what this war has done, actually, is acted as a catalyst to hurry up something that was already in the works. And I think that's the key point, because you've got people running around saying, well, it's gold, oil has gone up to $100, might go to 120, might go to 150, whatever. I mean, they miss this point. Do not be surprised if by the end of this year you see the oil price far higher. I mean, depending on what happens to the dollar. I think that is actually an extremely important point, because what we're going to see is we are going to see widespread inflation at the consumer price level because of this commodity effect. And it's not just oil either. I mean, the Middle East, because it cracks oil down into petrochemicals and all the rest of it, it's a big source of fertilizers, big source of urea, big source of sulfur, which goes into the, sort of potassium thingies. Sort of potassium fertilizers and all the rest. Yeah. And, things like helium, which are vital for making chips, and also apparently vital for all sorts of things you'd never think of as
Jesus Christ.
vital for. I mean, someone said that fiber optic cables can't exist without helium. Well, it was new to me, but it would. I mean, someone else made the point, and this was a professor who specialized in petrochemicals and all the rest of it. He said that he tells his students, I think it was in the University of London, or one of those, that there are 45,000 consumer products which depend on the oil price, or derivatives of oil or whatever. I mean, so what this means is that the inflation rate, which nobody was really looking for, is going to be through the roof later on this year. Okay, what does that do to bond yields? Well, they could be through the roof as well. So that's what's going on. And I can just imagine that on Monday morning at 6 o'clock in the morning, they were shaking Trump awake, saying, taco, for God's sake, taco. Besant saying, look, this is going to screw up my debt management program. Right. Because all these bonds, they suddenly saw the whole thing. There's no way you should get any cuts in interest rates. Having said that, Powell leaves in May. And if Trump has his way, he would have interest rates at zero. And indeed, forcing interest rates down could be about his only salvation ahead of the midterms, because everything else is going horribly wrong for him. Yeah.
Do you think that's really inevitable? Go ahead.
Yeah, but, if he does that, he's just going to screw up the dollar even more. Yeah. So...
Well, do you think it's inevitable, like them pushing down interest rates or doing everything they can to push down interest rates? It seems like that's almost like, and that is not a solution. I'm not advocating for that by any means, but it seems like that's the only
card that they have to play before the midterms.
It could well be, but the problem. I mean, I think it's probably even more serious than that. Actually, I mean, for me to suggest that it's his only salvation for the midterms is a bit flippant. Let's face it. Mm-hmm. The problem that Powell and his successor really has is that when you get rising bond yields, and let's say the 10-year goes through 5%, that's going to crash the equity market. Mm-hmm. You crash the equity market, then according to the Fed's playbook, confidence in the underlying economy takes a very, very bad knock.
Yeah.
You need to have a good stock market to have confidence in the economy. Mm-hmm. So what do? He's got a choice. Either he protects the dollar by raising interest rates and having to rescue banks, seeing zombie companies who loaded up on very, very cheap debt during the years in the run-up to the COVID crisis and through 2020. Mm-hmm. Oh, and now, I mean, having sort of maybe borrowed 2, 3, 4, 5-year money at less than 1%, if you're a sort of prime borrower, you're now looking at refinancing at, well, I mean, could it be 5 or 6%? I mean, basically, if you're overloaded with debt and you've leveraged up your earnings, this is a disaster. And this is, of course, where the private equity industry is really hung out to dry by all this. And also, real estate and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
So what does he do? I mean, does he just stand back and protect the dollar and say that, we've got to protect the dollar, that's more important? Or does he do the opposite and take whatever action is necessary along with the US Treasury in order to rescue the economy? Well, I think the answer is the latter. That's the mandate. That's his mandate. And, to hell with the inflationary consequences. In other words, you're going to find that the value of credit or the other side of credit, debt, is going to get wiped out. It either gets wiped out by businesses and banks going bust, or it gets wiped out by the currency in which you value this debt being depreciated right down to whatever is necessary. And that's going to be the choice.
And what'll happen is he'll inflate the money to zero. So you won't owe your debt. As you just said, your credit card balance goes to zero because you don't have anything to pay it with. You owe 10 grand. 10 grand of what? $1. Well, the dollar's worthless. So I can't pay you 10 grand because I don't have it because the money isn't worth anything. When people don't demand the money, if nobody wants it, it has a zero value. And that's what happens. So he's going to say what the choice of the government.
Absolutely clear in my own mind is the political imperative which will win. And that is sacrifice the dollar. Don't sacrifice businesses.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you. I think that's what's going to happen.
So he'll print the money to zero to save the business, but it'll all get blown out.
What does exactly that look like over the next, let's give it 12 months, 6 to 12 months?
I'm sorry, I missed the important word in that question. What's the outlook for the next, what is it we're looking at?
Yeah, the next 6 to 12 months. Let's say they go and rescue the equity markets, they go and rescue private banks, or just, what is that?
Yeah, well, what you're going to get is you're going to get QE like you've never seen before. And it'll be cash for cash.
Right? I'm not laughing at you, but I'm agreeing. I'm laughing out of fear. I'm laughing out of fear. Oh, God.
You're not first. But it'll be cash for cash. I mean, it'll be, sort of pushing out short-term debt because the long-term debt is in a debt trap. I mean, they won't be able to fund anything with any real maturity. So it's going to be sort of 1 month, 3 month, 6 month T-bills on one side of the Fed's balance sheet and cash going out the door on the other. That's what it'll be, or not cash, but it'll be bank reserves, if you like, and that's how the accounting works on that. Mm-hmm. So and that'll just go straight into the economy. Rescue this, rescue that, but it'll all be short-term cash, and if it's cash for cash, effectively, it's just cash printing, really. This is exactly what happened in Germany between 1920 and 1923.
Yeah.
And, I mean, the thing that's fascinating, Andy, is that if you study that period, you see that actually they knew what they were doing. They had a grasp of classical economics, not this pretend macroeconomics, which was only invented in 36 by Keynes. They actually knew what they were doing. They knew what the consequences were. Despite that, the political imperative was print, print, print. And that's what they had to do. I mean, I know it's different circumstances, and you could argue, well, the big reparations and when France walked into the Ruhr and all this sort of stuff. But, it's the political imperative. That's the key thing. To understand that, in this sort of crisis, it's always politics that drives it, not economics, not logic, not common sense even. So,
Yes.
I'm afraid it's the end of the fiat currency system, in effect.
Yeah. Well, you say the end of the fiat currency system, then what? And I think I know what you're going to say, but I want you to answer that anyway. Then is this a revert back to hard assets or gold as...
The YouTube Music app has ad-free playlists just for your ears.
That anyway. Then is this a revert back to hard assets or gold as the system?
Well, I think you have to understand what the difference is between money and credit. And it was actually said by John Pierpont Morgan in 1912 to Congress. He said, gold is money and all else is credit. And it is. I mean, the way you identify credit as opposed to final settlement is there an obligation on the other side of someone's balance sheet to deliver whatever it is to you? So, you have a credit. You own, let us say, a bank deposit. In the bank, they have you as a liability, and they have an asset on the other side. But for the bank, you are a liability. Yeah, it's not your money; they owe it to you. Mm-hmm. So that's clearly credit. If you look at the dollar bill and look at the Fed's balance sheet, you will see that appears on the liability side of their balance sheet. In other words, they owe it to you. So all that is credit. Currency is credit. It's not money.
It is,
if you
money.
like, in that strict legal sense. What we're going to see is credit being demolished in terms of its value. And there's no alternative. There really isn't. When that happens, basically, the value of credit goes to zero. Goes towards zero unless someone actually stops it. The only way really to stop it is to go onto a gold standard. In other words, what you do is you tie the value of credit to real money, which is final settlement, physical gold coins, if you like, or gold bars, or gold in whatever form. That's final settlement, which is why the central banks around the world, apart from the US central bank and also the Europeans, who are all yes men, really, to the Fed. This is why all the other central banks are accumulating gold, because they don't want everybody else's currency liabilities. It's all they've got reserves which are full of other people's liabilities. they want out.
So as he says, the credit goes to zero, your house goes to zero, your car goes to zero. Your credit cards go to zero. All your assets go to zero because all the credit goes to zero because it's worthless. And we're this close from it. So this is probably within a year. This will happen. And the more gold and silver you can buy, what happens to the gold and silver price goes to the moon. Because now everybody turns to real money, which is gold and silver. So now this huge demand pops in gold and silver. And what we're looking at 4,700 or what is it, 4,500 gold, which we know is bullshit price. You add a zero to that, or maybe two zeros. So it might be $400,000 for gold in dollars. That's why BRICS has bought all the gold. And that's why Trump's sitting there trying to fight all the BRICS countries, because he knows he lost. You cannot compete with gold because you cannot print it. It's very limited and it's very much in demand. So you can't fuck with gold. Gold wins every time. these wars are about stealing oil from Iran to get to try to pay off the debt, which has now hit over 39 trillion. You're fucked. You can't pay it off. So this is why I'm telling you to hold off buying a house or stuff like that, because it's going to be worthless in dollars. And then if you have gold, this is the concept that Luke can't understand. In gold, 2 ounces of gold is going to buy a nice house, because gold will be the money and the house will have no value because it's valued in dollars until you value it in gold. And 2 ounces of gold, with all the demand coming in, it's the Titanic. As the boat sinking, the demand for the lifeboat is huge, right? And here, as the dollar collapses, because they keep printing it and printing it and printing it, and the more they print, the less it's worth. It's bullshit that you can print as many dollars as you want. Well, yeah, but there is a repercussion to it. It's called, you fucked up, the value goes to zero. And there's no way to stop it. And we're spending, how are you keeping the stock market up? Printing money. How are you paying for this $1 billion a day war that it's the most stupid war, just like the Ukraine war? It has no sense. Oh, we're trying to steal the oil from Russia, so we thought we'd have Ukraine fight them. The Ukraine will fight them for us as we try to steal their oil. Yeah, that's not working. Iran, we're trying to steal their oil. That didn't work. Venezuela, yeah, they don't have, their oil is no good to steal. All because we keep printing and all these crooks. And the winner is George Soros, because George has definitely shorted the dollar and wants it to go to zero. And this is his playbook, like he did in Britain in 1990. Same playbook here. And the wars speed up the downfall of the dollar, because then you got to print another billion a day. So in 3 weeks, we printed $21 billion. We don't have it. This is just printing out of thin air. We don't have the money. We don't have the gold for it. AI is not going to help you, because the thing with AI, I heard on the radio, and it's my thoughts also, is, does it really work? Can I really fire all my employees and have this, and is it going to work? All it is it's a grab of data. It's a data grab, but you can't talk to it. Well, it doesn't take vacations or lunch hour. Yeah, but it doesn't do anything. There is no value generated by AI or analytics. It doesn't give you, analytics is sort of like trend analysis, which doesn't work. Let's go for it on fourth down. And as I told you yesterday with John Madden at the Ghost to the Post game, where it's just before the end of the game and he's at 4th and 1 at the 10-yard line. And he goes, well, if I don't get it, I lose the game. I can't do that. So I kicked the field goal. And that's the whole point. These coaches don't get, if I don't get it, I lose the game. And that's where it's at. So anyway, that's a lot of what's happening, and they're going to money print it. And that's why you buy as much gold and silver as you can, because that's the only real money, and it can't be inflated. You can't just print. If we're on the gold standard and we went to war, where are you going to get the $1 billion a day from? Which it wouldn't be $1 billion a day. If we're on gold, it would probably be $10,000 a day, because you printed so much fucking money that everybody and their brother is a billionaire, but they're not. They're going to go, it's all going to go to zero. So all these Warren Buffets and Bill Gates, they're all going to be zero unless they have gold and silver. Do they have some? I don't know. Maybe. Buffet doesn't have any. He thinks it's a pet rock. He doesn't want to buy any. It's ridiculous. The man's an idiot. This is why I say this, because it's a no-brainer. It's the easiest decision I've ever made. It's the easiest bet I've ever made in my life. Go cash your money in for gold and silver. You can't lose. It's a lock. Well, no, like Bitcoin. Yeah, that's not real. Well, I'll put my money in the stock market. Oh yeah, that's not fixed. Christ. So it's just insane. All right, just a minute or two left.
And to have real money there. I mean, that's a signal we should actually pay very, very close attention to.
Yeah, absolutely. And it looks like we have been, or started to pay attention, if you would. When I say we, retail normal people with the accumulation Yeah, over the last several months, and we just see this as which I see it as, this downturn as another opportunity to buy more. Alistair, I've taken way too much of your time, but I just want to say thank you.
Let's go back and hear that last comment.
Identify credit as opposed to final settlement is there an obligation on the other side of someone's balance sheet to deliver whatever it is to you? So, you have a credit, you own, let us say, a bank deposit. In the bank, they have you as a liability and they have an asset on the other side. But for the bank, you are a liability. Yeah? It's not your money, they owe it to you. Mm-hmm. So that's clearly credit. If you look at, a dollar bill and look at the Fed's balance sheet, you will see that appears on the liability side of their balance sheet. In other words, they owe it to you. So all that is credit. Currency is credit. It's not money, if you like, in that strict legal sense. What we're going to see is credit being demolished in terms of its value. And there's no alternative. There really isn't. When that happens, basically, the value of credit goes to zero.
That's your house.
Zero, unless someone actually stops it. The only way really to stop it is to go onto a gold standard. In other words, what you do is you tie the value of credit to real money, which is final settlement. Mm-hmm. Physical gold coins, if you like, or gold bars, or gold in whatever form. That's final settlement, which is why the central banks around the world, apart from the US central bank and also the Europeans, who are all yes men, really, to the Fed. This is why all the other central banks are accumulating gold, because they don't want everybody else's currency liabilities. It's all, they've got reserves which are full of other people's liabilities. they want out and to have real money there. I mean, that's a signal we should actually pay very, very close attention to.
Yeah. Absolutely, and it looks like we have been or started to pay attention, if you would. When I say we,
okay, so that's where we I just wanted to recalibrate that. So basically, it's not because they're debts; it's because they're inflated. So China doesn't want to hold U.S. dollars because the value of the dollar is worthless. Putin called it a Snickers wrapper. That's why they don't want to hold dollars. It's not that it's a liability. It's that it's not worth anything. Alistair doesn't understand inflation. That's okay. We'll help him there. So we don't want to hold the dollar, not because it's a debt. It's because it's inflated. It's not worth anything. So we sell our dollars and we buy gold and silver. We Rumpelstiltskin it. That's what you want to do. That's why all the banks are doing it. They're getting out of the currencies because they're all worthless. And that's why BRICS has bought all the gold in China, 80,000 tons, is because that's real money. And they're backing their dollars with gold and kind of back on the gold standard. The yuan's worthless. The ruble's worthless. The Saudi dollar's worth. All the dollars that are printed that aren't backed by anything are worthless. The only way they works is with backed by gold and silver. It's the only thing that has value because it's the gold and silver that has value. Again, I was asked about Bitcoin, and somebody asked me, should I buy it? And I said, well, is it backed by anything? And they said, no. And I said, then don't buy it. If it's not backed by anything, it's worthless. So Bitcoin's worthless. It might have a $60,000 value, whatever. It's worthless because it's not true. Again, it's backed by the dollar. When the dollar goes out, the Bitcoin value goes to zero, as does your house, your car, and anything else that you have. And everything in dollars goes to zero, and that's Bitcoin's problem. There's no such thing as a Bitcoin. It's not real. The fact it's valued at 70 grand is a Ponzi scheme, pure and simple. And that's what you got to understand. So that's why you don't get into it. It's not real. I'd rather have something physical that I can see and put in my hand. I'd rather see this than a Bitcoin that, oh yeah, here's a Bitcoin. Here's what the Bitcoin is. I don't even know what it looks like. It's a scam. So either you understand it's a scam and you buy gold and silver, or you believe it's real And when it goes to zero, when the dollar collapses, don't be surprised, just like Madoff. Oh, when Madoff collapsed and all the people are crying, oh, I lost my savings. You're an idiot. Okay. You should have known it was a Ponzi scheme, because if everybody's paying 3% and you can get 15%, and he doesn't want to tell you how he's doing it, there's a problem. And that's clearly what it is. If somebody can't explain it, it's bullshit. So anyway, that was Mark McGuire or Alistair today. A good thing. Again, it's QE like you've never seen it before, which means they're going to print when the dollar. They're not going to save the dollar. They're going to try to save businesses by printing money. It's not going to work, because then the money's got no value. So as soon as they don't want your dollar, the game's over. And so basically the game's over now. We don't need to, the boat hit the iceberg. We don't need to be in the Atlantic to realize the boat's sinking. We see the hole in the boat going, the boat's sinking. And then we go to the lifeboat immediately after. We don't wait for the boat to actually sink to get to the lifeboat. We don't wait for the dollar to totally collapse. We get into the lifeboat, gold and silver, but we know the boat's going to sink. We don't know exactly when, but you didn't know when the Titanic was sinking if you're on it. Well, I got 4 or 5 hours apparently, but you don't know, but you know it's going to sink. We know the dollar's worthless. That's not even a question. So once we know that, then it becomes, okay, then what do we do? And that's where the problem solving took over. And it was gold and silver was the answer, because you can't print it. You can't inflate it. It can't lose its value. And it doesn't need to be priced in dollars. And once you realize that, that's an easy thing to get into. And here comes Bitcoin, and they're trying to convince you to go into it, but it's not real. I think they want to steal the money from that and hopefully pay the $39 trillion debt off. But as you see, the debt's not going down. They're not doing any of that. Let's go to war and spend more money and get the debt higher. That's what's happening. John C. Hi, TK. Thought you were done. What is everything going down? Why is it losing? Did you not just listen to the class? Why did you think I was done? What, where, at what point? Well, not everything's going down. The gold and silver went down and came back, and that was the whole class. That's what I just explained. So go watch the video and you'll see what happened. Why is it losing its value then? It's not losing, it's the physical is not, paper is, and the banks need the money to get out of their options, and they need to buy gold and silver physical for their customers, and so they want to buy it at a cheaper price. So it's all manipulated by the banks, the paper part of it. The physical is not losing value. It's going higher and higher and higher, and you'll be fine holding the physical gold. So just hold the physical gold. Don't worry about it. All right, let's see where we are at. All right, so silver 72.78 dropped 50 cents while we've been on, but it's still up $3. Gold 45.58 was 45.73. So look at the ebb and flows. We came on, it was 45.73, dropped to 45.30, 40 cents, $40, and then spiked right back to 45.60 where it's at now. You can see the bullshit. This is why it's not real. These big drops, the 8 o'clock drop, and then you have this 11 o'clock drop. Like, what the fuck? And now it pounces back up. So it's just somebody selling an option and then somebody buying it, and there's not anybody in it anymore because it's not real. They don't want to take delivery. The game's over. Comex is basically done. Nobody takes it serious. Nobody is going to buy it, and they're just shorting. They're just putting their price in, but it's not a real price. It's a bullshit price. So let's see if we can get a real price. Let's look at Shanghai. So if we look at China today, China's at 81, we're at 72. Again, look at the difference. And then if we look at gold, China's 45.70. See, they're not really using physical gold. They're still using comex to price it, because physical would not be 45.78. So this is useless, that stuff. And that's about it. Anything else? So we've kind of survived this paper crash. We're back near 4,600 gold again. We got to get back to 5,000, and even then, it's paper. It's not physical. Physical is worth a lot more because it's more limited. There's only 200,000 tons of gold in the world, maybe 205,000 tons, which is already bought by most of the BRICS countries and the rest, the central banks, and then me and you buying maybe a ton in total, which is 32,000 ounces. So I'm nowhere near that. And that's what you have. And I lost my thought. So again, COMEX isn't going anywhere. It's not real. So because gold's limited, I think that's where I was going with it. Since gold's limited to 200,000 tons and you can't print it, you can't lose value on it. So you can't lose money on it, because the reason the dollar is losing value is they keep printing it. They pay for the war. They pay for the debt. They pay for the government employees. They're not making, if this was a business, if I sell the ice cream and I make $10,000 a month and my expense is $5,000 a month, I make $5,000 a month. But if I make 10,000 but my cost is 20,000, I lose 10,000 a month. Well, the government loses money every month, hence the debt, and they can't afford it. So they print more dollars, which again lose value, because they're not backed by anything. So they just keep printing and printing. So it's very obvious what's happening. They're losing value. They will lose value. The government's going to try to help business, not the dollar. Raising interest rates won't help. And this is not about prices. Jesus Christ. Inflation is print the money loses value, period, which makes more dollars needed to buy goods. But the prices themselves are determined by the market, as I said yesterday. If you want to make this almonds $50 a bag, nobody's going to buy it. But at $5 a bag, I bought. So the market determines what you can price it for. So just because the dollar is worthless, don't think you're going to mark that at $100 for a bag of almonds. They'll never sell any. And if they don't sell any, they got to get out of business. You're going to see a lot of businesses fail because their costs will go up as the dollar buys less. So they'll need more dollars to buy their goods, but they won't be able to charge the consumer the amount of their cost. So if their cost goes up $10, they can't raise it. You can't make a $40 steak. Nobody's going to buy it. So you won't sell steaks. And then the meat companies will go out of business because you're not going to be able to sell steaks. Hamburgers, maybe. But that's it. You just won't be able to do it. So we will see what happens. Anyway, anything else? John C., why is it losing? Well, okay. John C., you got to actually listen to the videos. I don't know what you're doing, but that's why I do the videos. So you can watch it whenever, but it's very valuable information, but you got to actually listen to it to understand it. Anyway, I think that's it. 2 hours, about right. So we'll keep an eye on that. It's triple witching Friday, so hopefully it won't go down too much more from here. And if we survive Friday, then next week should start zooming up. The 27th is Friday. So the 30th on Monday I don't know if it's the last day of the month or not. I don't know enough about it, but I think the last day of the month's Friday, but with the option things, because it's quarter end. Always something to shoot the price down, right? Because the banks fuck up all the time. So don't trust the banks. Really don't trust too many financial people. They don't get it right. They don't understand what they're doing. Do not trust your financial planner. If he tells you to buy this stock, or he'll put you in NIBDA or put you in, Amazon. He's not much of a financial planner then. All right, everybody. Well, have a nice day. www.tuesdayking.com. We'll see. It's decent. It's lukewarm here today. It was 70, then it went down to 35, and yesterday was 50. So we'll see what it is. Otherwise, not much else. Basketball today. Again, the bets. Atlanta over 228. Oklahoma over 217. Utah laying 4.5, and the Vikings plus 1.5. Those are the 4 picks. College, we like Houston under San Jose. St. John's plus the point, 6.5. Michigan State plus the 2.5. Iowa State under 139. And that be your picks. So good luck on those. Again, I'm learning, so I don't want you to bet too much on them. I do have faith that they should win, but it's basketball, and I'm not. Like I said, I can name like 4 or 5 players on Luca Brasi and Winnebago, and then the other guy, Antelope. Those were the 3 guys I know, and Richie Cunningham. That's my knowledge of the players. I don't really. I can't get into basketball. It's too boring, and it's all fixed. So it's hard to bet it. Anyway, that's what's going on. We'll keep an eye on the war. Trump needs to get out. But it's all phony. It's to get oil prices up. There's no shortage. People are still getting the Strait of Hormuz are not closed. They're not closed to people going to China or people paying in yuan. It's only partially closed. Big difference. And gold and silver has no bearing on oil price going up or the dollar strengthening is not an answer why gold went down. It was the bankers shorting it on purpose to get the prices down so they could buy. That's all it was. All right. Have a good day, everybody. Enjoy. www.tuesdayking.com if you want to email me with any questions, and that's about it. So 10 to 1 soon. I got to cook some chicken, and then the pool at 3:00. All right. Take care, everybody. Have a good day.